Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Akakwadash, and I want to say Shalom to our Knockout out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. This one's on the topic of Israel ruling over the heathens, all right, and heathen servants. Don't necessarily have a title for it. That could just end up being the title. But I just basically wanted to get a couple scriptures and a couple, precepts about this, because this is something that will happen. A lot of people are divisive over it. It's one of the big ones that people really don't like when it comes to this truth, right? And it doesn't really matter at the end of the day what you do and you don't like, all right? But for the people of the world, the two things they don't like is the grape doctrine, all right? And they don't like the idea that they potentially, if they're, not potentially being that if they're a heathen, all right, that's the potential part, if they're a heathen or if they're not, right? If they're a heathen, that they're going into captivity. They don't like that part, okay? It's one of those ones that really gets, especially the Edomites, they get the maddest about it. They really don't like that idea because that they have to, repay something back. So I want to make a quick little lesson, all right? Not sure how long we're going to go. But I want to make a quick little lesson on the topic, grab some scriptures, grab some precepts, grab some concepts surrounding this. You do dirt, you get dirt is just how it goes, man. So first of all, I want to start up with Isaiah 14 and 2, or 14 and 1, and just read down, and probably to like 7, and just get it. Okay, this is one of my favorite scriptures, or blocks of scripture, right? So Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1, starting up, it reads, "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob." Okay, and Jacob his name was later changed to Israel. Okay, Israel. So we are the descendants of him, all right, through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We are the descendants through that seed line. Okay, let's grab a precept real quick. This is Numbers 1 and 18. And we'll go from 17. It says, Numbers 1 and 17, "And Moses and Aaron took these men, which are expressed by their names, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees." Okay, now let's stop. What is a pedigree? Okay, it says pedigree, the record of descent of an animal, showing it to be purebred, right? That's with animals, right here. The recorded ancestry. What is ancestry? Let's go ancestry. Ancestry. It means, all right, one's family or ethnic descent. Okay, the origin or background, ethnic descent. Okay, right here you should already start to see bloodline. All right, bloodline, roots, your blood. Okay. So they declared their ancestry, all right, and their upper class ancestry of a person or family pedigree. Another word you're going to see down here is race, okay? Race, blood, bloodline, all right, and ethnicity, okay? They declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. As a matter of fact, we can go and get this, and we'll see. They've been doing some altercations with ChatGPT lately, but let's see. They messed it up. All right. Oh, here's some fire. In Numbers 1 and 18, the word pedigrees refers to a genealogical lineage or ancestry, specifically the family heritage traced through the male line. Here's a breakdown of what it means in this context. They declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers. Declared their pedigrees. They identified or recorded their family background or lineage by the house of their fathers. This shows that lineage was traced patrilineally. All right, through the male side, their father's household or clan, not the mother, okay? So if you have an Israelite father and an Edomite mother, you're an Israelite, okay? If you have an Israelite father and a Moabite mother, you're an Israelite. Okay, but if you have an Israelite mother, but your father's an Edomite, you're an Edomite. Okay, it goes by your father. And you say, "Oh, my dad was white, but his dad was a so-called black man, and his dad was so-called." Well, then you're an Israelite more than likely. Okay, skin color can get watered down. You can't go 100% off of skin color. All right, skin color is important, but at the end of the day, it's not. That's not a determining factor if you're an Israelite or not. Okay, it can be used lightly to say, okay, well, a lot of the people that you see that are white looking are Edomites. A lot of the people you see that are looking like so-called Negroes are in fact Judah, Levi, or Benjamin. And a lot of the people out there that look like so-called Latinos go back to one of the northern kingdoms, whether they be Ephraim or Manasseh, or Issachar, or Gad, right? And so on and so forth. So it says, why this matter? Why does that matter? Why does it matter? The census in Numbers 1 was for organizing the tribes of Israel, especially for military and leadership roles. Being able to prove one's tribal identity through ancestry was essential for ensuring only true members of Israel were counted. Determining tribal inheritance in land, organizing the army. Only males 20 plus were eligible. So pedigree here doesn't mean breed or animals, as we might hear today, but rather a formal record of one's family descent used to establish tribal affiliation and identity. In other words, race and ethnicity. All right, it says that's a great question, and the answer is partly yes, but not exactly in modern terms. In biblical context, the pedigree declared in Numbers 1 and 18 is primarily about family descent, tribal identity, and lineage to the father's line. That is race. They're gonna say, oh yeah, because race is a modern construct based on skin color. Okay, ethnicity, somewhat related. All right, a group of identity based on culture, but it's gonna talk about it's not gonna count mothers. But ancestry is race. That's the reason people do ancestry. How do you spell ancestry? There we go. They're really just proving the point even more by trying to dodge it. It says modern race versus biblical pedigree. Modern DNA and ancestry tests. People often say, oh, I'm 30% Scandinavian, 20% Nigerian, etc. These results mix genetic ancestry with modern concept of race and ethnicity. So yes, ancestry is often used as a proxy for understanding a race today. It says biblical context. Pedigree here isn't about physical traits, skin color, or global regions. There you go. It's about tribal membership. I am a tribe of Judah, son of X, son of Y. The focus is on social, legal, and religious identity, not racial categories. All right, but they by trying to be woke, they ended up going broke. All right, that's what ended up happening. They tried to appeal to everybody, but they really just proved the point even more. All right, so they declared their pedigrees. Let me start over. Numbers 1 and 18, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. There you go. So it's all that's what matters at the end of the day, is that you're of Israel. And if you're not, then you're a heathen. And if you're a heathen, then captivity is in your lot, boy. So right here, Isaiah chapter 14, starting with 1, going down to 17, it says, verse 1, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the stranger shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Now, something is important for context here. We got to go and get the original languages here. We got to go and get Isaiah 14 and 1 in the Blue Letter Bible, all right, which will bring us up the Hebrew. And then you're going to see the word right here, strangers, okay? The strangers are going to be joined to them. Who are the strangers? The strangers are heathens, Okay, heathens. Strangers, all right? It says a sojourner, it says a temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited right, of foreigners in Israel through conceded right. So a heathen, okay? A heathen, a foreigner in Israel, okay? So if they're not of Israel, then they would be a foreigner. If they are a foreigner and they're not of Israel, that means they are a heathen, okay? So going back, it says, and the stranger shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Now we got to stop there. All right. We got to go and get this. Well, really, it was right. Right here. This is Deuteronomy 5:9. Now, we got to get another scripture to show you. Okay. So Deuteronomy 5:9 to show you, well, I never took anybody captive. I never took anybody captives. You did. All right. Again, through that same lineage, through your father. All right, you come back, all right, through a process called reincarnation, regeneration, really, all right? And a lot of people have a mistaken understanding about that, all right? You have two big ones. Either you have the ones that they believe that there's no concept of reincarnation or regeneration in the Bible, all right, which would be, they'd be sorely mistaken, or two, they believe in reincarnation, but they believe in the Hindu-like version, all right, where you can come back as a butterfly or, this or that, all right? And that's not right either, okay? So to prove that, to show you that, yeah, you are those same people coming back, all right? You were those people that in the 1700s were whooping ass, all right? And with the whoop and running plantations. You're the same people. Now, not necessarily all of you, all right, but a good chunk of you, okay? And it's like, the few bad apples spoil the whole bunch. Well, you're all evil in one way or another, but some of you might not have necessarily had a part in the transatlantic slave trade. You were doing other things to the children of Israel in other ways, all right? If you necessarily weren't, part of the transatlantic slave trade, you were still doing something when they were in your land. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day because we know through biblical accounts how the Edomites behaved, okay? And you were not good to the Israelites, regardless if you had them in captivity or not. All right, because we know you rubbed your little greedy little hands together when you finally got a hold of us. But before you got a hold of us, you were already doing things to us anyway, right? We weren't necessarily in captivity. We weren't in captivity, not necessarily, but we weren't in captivity at all in any capacity when we ended up getting the blessing from our father, and then you got upset and you said, "Oh, I'm the time for mourning on my father's hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob." You already wanted to kill us. You didn't have us in captivity, but you wanted to do us harm already. And that was the start of, you were already a profane person, but that was really the start of the Jacob and Esau, animosity, okay? Because you were mad that you sold your birthright, all right? Again, Edomites, they'll do something, get mad that they did it, and then blame it on you, all right? That's just how they are. It's in their culture, all right? Everybody says Edomites don't have a culture. They have a culture. It's murder, robbery, and grape, all right? That's their culture, all right? And lies, all right? Forgot that. Lies is one of the biggest one. That's probably one of their biggest cultural aspects other than the murder, really. But, so yeah, man, Deuteronomy 5:9 says, "Thou shalt not bow down thyself." This is talking about, we'll go 8 for context. Deuteronomy 5:8, "Thou shalt not make any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers unto the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me." So hold up, it says he's going to visit the iniquity of the fathers. Iniquity is sin upon sin, great wickedness, right? Upon the children unto the third and fourth generations? What are you talking about? I thought you said that, visiting the iniquity upon the children. What about Ezekiel 18:20? Let's get that. It says, "The soul that sinneth This is Ezekiel 18:20. Let me slow down. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father. Well, hold up. In Deuteronomy 5:9, it says, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. Why is that? All right? This is a biblical contradiction. See, guys, the Bible has contradiction. It doesn't make sense. See, it's a fake, made-up book. See, it doesn't. No, you just don't understand it. Okay? You don't understand it. And we're going to explain it. First, let's finish up Ezekiel 18:20. It says, the soul that sinneth, it shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. So right here's a clue. The wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. So you're not going to pay for something that your father did, all right? And unless he was doing something wrong and you didn't, tell him, all right? And then the blood would be upon your hands. But that's because of something else. That's not because you're not getting punished because he smoked a cigarette or he ate pork. All right, you're getting punished because you were commanded to, tell him at least that he was going off. Now, if you tell him and he doesn't care, that's a different thing. The blood's off your hands, right? So, but what does it mean here? The wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. Well, it's talking about really reincarnation, all right? Another scripture you can get to prove reincarnation. This is Ecclesiastes 1:9. It says, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is there any in italics, is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. We're under the sun. We're not new. All right? We are not new. And there's actually a concept. Now, a lot of people will take this out of context and they'll say, oh, well, Peter was blessed because, he didn't believe in that mumbo jumbo. Well, no, the thing is, you got to realize there's no remembrance. All right. We forgot to get verse 11. It says, there is no remembrance of former things. Ecclesiastes 1:11. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. Okay, so he's not going to remember. All right, he was Adam as well. Yahushua was Adam. He was also King Solomon. Okay, so and that's through the regeneration, through the reincarnation. Okay, but going here, we can already see that the concept of reincarnation was already existent at this time. All right, to show you it was around. Matthew 16:13, when Yahushua came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? And they said, some say thou art John the Baptist, some Elias, others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. Why? Because you come back in your lot. All right, stand thee in thy lot. You always come back in your lot. Okay, and Yahushua is a prophet. Okay, so they said, okay, well, he has to be one of the prophets coming back. All right, because he's a prophet, so he has to come back in his lot. Right? In verse 15 it says, he said unto them, but whom say ye that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, thou art the Hamashiach, the Son of the living power. And Yahushua answered and said unto him, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. Okay, so some people like to use that out of context and say, no, he was blessed because he didn't. Yes, in a way, and yeah, but you got to realize that Yahushua is no remembrance of former things. Okay, so and in the capacity now, and he more than likely knows, right? Of course, but back then. All right, when you're among Earth, you're not going to necessarily remember those things. We don't remember our past lives. Now, it's not always the case. There are sometimes underliers. Sometimes you'll have like little flashes, or there'll be kids that can remember things. All right, but that's really, really rare. All right, and that's really something that doesn't happen all too often. Okay, so, but for the vast majority, there's no remembrance of former things. Okay, every once in a while, the Lord will allow something like that to happen, just to, really it's a display of his power, all right, to show you that, those things can happen indeed, all right, but a lot of people don't believe it, but Yeah, so the third and fourth generation. So how if you go and look up how long is a generation? All right, it's 20 to 25 years, or they say 20 to 30 years. So I always just put it in 25. So 25 times 3 is 75, and times 4 is 100. So 75 to 100 years, the third and fourth generation, 75 to 100 years. So you come back every 75 to 100 years, all right? And that's why you can be visited for that iniquity, because you did the wrong in the past. 75, 100 years go by, and it can vary, all right? It's not a explicit number, all right? Expressive number that's 100%, all right? Sometimes it depends on how fast your family gets down, really, at the end of the day. So you come back, and you're that same person coming back that did wickedness that the Lord punished you for, and you still never repented, you never cared, right? You can get punished again, all right? So, and that's what's going to happen with the Edomites. They never repent. They're not repentant. The Lord's not in all their thoughts. So they're gonna get it, all right, because they never feared the Lord, they never cared, all right. So they're gonna go into captivity because they're the same people that put us into captivity. Okay, verse 2, Isaiah chapter 14, getting back to the point. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. It says in verse 3, and it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve. Okay, well, you guys have it easy right now. No, we still don't have it easy right now. We have it, easier than being in the fields, all right, but we were in those fields in our past life. Some of us were, not necessarily all of us, depending on what tribe we go back to and where we were, and, all that. In verse 3, it says, verse 4, Salaki, it says, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked, and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest, and as quiet, Salaki, and is quiet, they break forth into singing, showing you that once these devils are put into captivity, the earth's going to be in a better state. It's going to be in a better place, and people are actually going to be able to get some rest, man. So, let's get a couple more. Let's get Psalms 2 and 8. All right. Yeah, we'll just get it from 8. It says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. So that's something you need to realize, that it's not going to be, a happy-go-lucky little thing, all right? Let's get Revelation, because you devils got to get, you got to get punished for what you did. All right, 2 and 25. It reads, but that Revelation 2 and 25, but that which ye have already, hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. There you go. So, and what else? Let's see. Let's get Exodus. But here's the difference. We're doing it in righteousness, man. All right. Right here. Right here. Exodus 21 and 23. All right, remember, mischief. We've talked about this in the past. Back then it meant, wickedness. Now it really just means, you pulled a little prank. No, it means wickedness. Exodus 21 and 23. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for foot, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And stripe is a whip mark, right? There you go. So there you go, man. So, hey, man, which, you know, goes around, comes around. There's a lot of concepts like that. There's a lot of concepts like this in the world. All right, people have formulated the idea of karma. All right, which is a Hindu concept that was ripped off from the Bible. There's no such thing as karma. All right, but there is the what goes around gets around. All right, or what goes around comes around. All right, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Okay, you do something bad happens to you. All right, but karma, as it's called, does not exist. The concept exists. That's where they got it from. All right, that's where those Indians got it from. Those Elamites got it from. Okay, but it's not exactly how they, you know, put it out there. Okay, theirs is like a manufactured concept. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth is biblical concept, and it's fact. All right, you do something wrong happens to you. All right, but in this case, it really won't be wrong because it's for a righting of a wrong. Really, it's like how the Lord sends scourges for amendment. All right, it's an amendment. All right, it's a righting of a wrong. You did all this wickedness, and the thing that has to happen for you is that your blood needs to spill. The blood defileth the land, and it cannot be cleansed of the blood thereof, but by the blood of him that shed it. Roughly paraphrasing. So this is the amendment. This is the righting of the wrong. You have to go into captivity. All right, many of you have to die in Babylon. All right, in when Yahushua comes back. Some of you aren't going to die during that. Some of you are going to be set forth instantly into captivity. But most of those people are going to be, you know, these elites. All right, the 13 families and their descendants, and you know, all these billionaires and elites. All right, that's really who's going to be the first ones. You know, your regular Joe Smo is just going to burn up in the trailer park. So, yeah, man. Let's get what else do we want to get? Let's see. Let's get Galatians 6 and 7. It says, "Be not deceived, Yahweh is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." So whatever you put out, you get back. Okay? "For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting." So that's that. What goes around comes around, man. All right? You want to be wicked? Hey, well, you're going to get wickedness right on back. Okay? And then finally, I wanted to get Jeremiah. Yeah, Jeremiah 30 and 16. Slocky. All right. This is Jeremiah 30 and 16 through 17. Starting with 16, it says, "Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity." Shall go into captivity. Right there. All right. "All thine adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord, because they called thee an outcast, saying, This is Zion, whom no man seeketh after." I don't want to read down. Let me see. Oops. Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. That covers everything, man. And what do we go for? A good 30-40 minutes? Just about 30 minutes. So I'm comfortable closing out with that, right? So that pretty much explains everything, man. You are going to go into captivity. Why? Because you are those same people coming back. Okay? You are those same people coming back. All right? That's how it goes through your bloodline, through your seed line that comes through your father. You are those same people coming back. Regardless of if you were the ones that were in the plantation, or if you were somewhere over there in jolly old England, and before you came over here and did all that, you were somewhere in New Zealand or wherever you happen to be that was doing some evil of some capacity to Israel. It doesn't matter where you were, you did evil to Jake, and now that recompense, you know, that evil has to come upon you. All right, but it's not really an evil; it's an evil situation that's befalling you, but it's an act of righteousness. All right, righteous judgment. All right. So that's what's gonna happen, man. So that's the lesson. All right. We're gonna close out with that. Lord was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Dash. I want to say Shalom to Akmanakwath out there, you brothers and sisters. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing. Shalom.